What's up, guys, and welcome to the very first episode of Season 2 of the Bubba Speed Career Mode in MotoGP 20. So, let's take a look at what this game actually has to offer, and it has a completely different look and feel to it. Like, everything about this game seems like it's updated, it's modified, and quite frankly, it seems like it's improved. It's good to see like they have a lot more management things added to the game, because that was something, of course, was disappointing that they removed from the previous edition of the series. So to see all this type of stuff is definitely very, very promising. Of course, you can change your personal manager. You can look at contracts that I guess you have available. Of course, we don't have anything right now because we just signed, and of course this proposal's received, so I'm assuming once you start negotiating stuff, that's probably where you'll find it. You have a chief engineer, a data analyst, and then there's the technical staff over there. So that would probably be like based on what you achieve throughout a weekend, whether you're doing probably just racing too. I think that's probably going to be a thing in this, based on what I can tell from reading. That, and of course doing development tests during practices. You would assume that this is going to be where you're going to see all that and where things will improve. So I definitely look forward to seeing what the like how deep of a system it is. I know that there's actually like what's the word of it? Man, I was thinking about it earlier, and now I can't even think about it. There's actually, a series of things you can unlock, essentially. I'm sure it'll come to me later on, but yeah, as you move on, of course, you can upgrade, and you can actually go down different paths if you want to unlock certain things faster than others. So you can definitely modify a few things. And let's kind of see how this system works right here. So you have to pay your manager and stuff like that on your own. So that's cool to see. Like, there is at least like a reason for you to have currency and stuff like that. It's not just for buying like items and stuff, but it's actually for story mode. Not really story mode, but career mode. So first race weekend of the season, of course, is going to be Qatar, and qualified in first. Now, I'm not going to lie to you guys. The reason I'm skipping qualifying is because the game only allows you to do a minimum of 5 laps. So the race alone in Qatar, you figure a lap is around anywhere from 2 minutes 15 seconds to 2:18, depending on the start and stuff like that. So it's gonna be a bit of a long race. So I just figured, all right, fine, we'll just skip qualifying. We'll kind of make that a part of the series unless they change it the week to make it shorter. But let me tell you, like, I spent because of course I do commentary while watching the race after I have everything edited and recorded. All right, so I spent from 1:30 in the morning all the way to like almost 3 just practicing in free practice, because the game it's almost like it's not even the same series. And let me kind of explain what I mean by that. The physics and just the overall gameplay is so different to MotoGP 19 that it almost seems like it's not a sports game, because of course if you play any other sports game, the differences are noticeable if you play hundreds of hours, or even, I guess you can, maybe not hundreds of hours, but you get the picture. If you play a lot of it, then you will notice the differences in future entries of the series. And I didn't play that much MotoGP. Like I've completed 1 full season in the game in MotoGP 19. I don't think I completed a full season in MotoGP 18. And I didn't play any of the previous ones except for Valentino Rossi the game, and before that was like MotoGP 11. So seeing the adjustments they made, the improvements they made from 19 to this, it's actually pretty mind-boggling. Like, it's pretty fucking insane. So I do want to say hats off to Milestone for what they've done, and I'm going to talk more about that in the review, kind of go into more detail once I have, once I feel like I have extensive experience with the game and have kind of experienced a lot of the things that are on offer in the game. But just overall, like, the gameplay is so different. So I spent an hour and a half, more or less, just in free practice, and I felt like, for some reason, things were going really, really bad for me. Like, I was going around, on soft tires, trying to do flying, just quick laps. I was going around 2:18. Then I went and kind of tweaked some of the settings and stuff like that, and I think I found the right settings for me to use, and feeling pretty comfortable with it. And I would say that the biggest difference that you have to understand in this game is that no longer can you just go full throttle into when you're in the middle of turn. So if you're leaning, like for example right here, fully leaning, if you hit the gas, you're not going to get acceleration. you are not going to get any acceleration going. You're just going to kind of like maintain where you're at, but you're not going to go any faster. Whereas in pretty much every other game I've played in the series, I can't think of another one where it wasn't like that, unless you had auto brakes on, which is trash. If you're even when you're fully leaned, you can hit the gas, you can hit the you can hit the throttle, and you're gonna be picking up a lot of speed very fast. And that's actually, I think, one of the reasons why in old games you could actually cheese the hell out of the AI, because going through turns they would be so much slower. And I feel like that's just because the way the AI was set up was they wouldn't hit the gas, and they would do things pretty much the way it's supposed to be done in real life, you know what I mean? And then of course there was us humans that would just, do whatever we wanted, and then you could get a lot more power through turns. Whereas now it's a lot more realistic, and I think it's a lot better from that point of view. It actually requires a lot more practice, really, but most importantly, it just requires a lot more intelligence, because you can't just kind of power your way through things. To be a bit more, to be a bit cleaner, be a bit smarter. And I would definitely say that one thing that is going to be that's really going to be important, especially in Moto 3 and Moto 2, in my opinion, is going to be corner speed. Like, of course, right now, having done an hour and a half more or less of it, I feel like, at least in Qatar, I know where I need to brake and where I don't, and that makes things a little bit easier. Of course, we're still pretty far behind Mazia right now, but there's still plenty of time in the race to potentially get up there. And one thing I've noticed is, now that they've added fuel consumption and stuff like that, it actually does affect the gameplay a lot, because when you're in practicing or qualifying especially, you're using soft tires, you're only doing 1, 2, maybe 3 laps per outing, so you end up only needing a little bit of fuel. And of course the bike is lighter, the steering is better, and you can get better drives and stuff like that. So I definitely noticed that being a lot different as opposed to the first 3 laps, or the first two laps more or less we've done so far in the race, where it just felt like the bike was extremely heavy, and it just felt very, very, very different. And I love that. Like, I can imagine, and like I said, I've never raced before or anything like that, so I don't have any hands-on experience with real life stuff, but my dad used to race, and we've talked a lot about that, and I've been watching racing since I was a little kid, so I've kind of I feel like I have a decent knowledge of it, at least from somebody who doesn't actually do it. So of course not a personal experience, but I feel like I've watched enough. So I feel like that's always a big deal, is at the start of the race, between cold tires and having a lot more weight on the bike and stuff like that, because everything, especially nowadays, is so computer specific. Everything is perfect down to the last detail. You literally have enough gas to last you the race, and you've seen multiple times people run out of gas and stuff like that. So it ends up being a huge factor, and I like the fact that they're adding that to the game, because it adds an air of simulation. Like I've always said, that MotoGP has kind of just always been a generic racing game with official licensing, and of course, like official tracks and all that stuff. So just an official MotoGP racing game. Whereas this feels like, even on these generic settings, because I don't have it on the most advanced, I don't have it on realistic and stuff like that, it still feels like it's a lot more of a simulation than it has ever been. And I absolutely am a fan of that, and I really, really love it. And you can tell, because I'm very enthusiastic about the game. Like, MotoGP 19 was fun, but this feels like something that's going to take real skill, and it's going to take real time to invest in it and actually get good at it. So I do very, very much look forward to that. And in the 3rd lap of the very first race I've done in this game, we're doing pretty well. Like, honestly, I mean, the bike still has a lot to improve. It's still not a very good bike. I was hoping that Grassini would have a better bike than this, but of course they were going to make it difficult for you. They're not going to give you a good team early on, so maybe we can get ourselves on a better bike. I don't know exactly how it works. And we get a penalty, 3.53. But the good news is, if you didn't see, we actually were about a second faster than Mazia in the last lap. So in qualifying, I think we finished on pole with about 2 minutes 15 seconds, and like it was like 2:15.4, something like that, 2:15.5. So a pretty decent time, and we actually got to 2:16.5. So which means that as the tires get warmer and as we start to lose more fuel and more weight and stuff like that, we are picking up the speed. We're getting more comfortable with the bike, and Mazia is actually seeming like he's having a bit more of a hard time, and I feel like Bubba in general is just having a much better time actually carrying corner speed, because like I said, that's pretty much going to be, in my opinion, the biggest thing in this game, especially in the lower divisions and lower weight and the lower classes. It's going to be very important to carry corner speed, and I feel like I'm doing a lot better of a job of that right now, and definitely visibly gaining on Mazia. And it's interesting to see like all the guys who went up, because like, you know, I do lose track a lot of times of the smaller classes, and not seeing guys like De La Porta, not seeing guys like Canet, you know, guys who were very, very big parts of the first season of the series, and assuming they're going to be in Moto 2, and eventually we will go against them again and kind of rekindle that rivalry. But it's nice to see different opponents, different names up there. Of course, Antonelli is still there; he's third right now, but it's good to see Mazia and other guys being up there. So Bubba right now, he's actually gaining more and more on Mazia. So if he can keep it clean and gain a little bit, I would say, in this last turn, then there's a chance he could actually start this lap, start lap 5 in first. And there you go, gets really, really close, runs it a bit wide, but he's probably going to get an okay drive coming out of it, because he can actually pull it up a little bit, a little early, and still get a decent drive. Of course, Mazia is going to gain some ground on there, but I think you're going to see a good Bubba here. 2 minutes and 15.7, so a very, very good lap, almost a second faster than the previous one. And now it's just a matter of, can Bubba keep his composure in this final lap? Has the lead, he's a lot faster than Mazia. Can he keep his composure and keep enough distance between him and second place to you know, not have to worry about that penalty? The important thing here is to not get caught up in a battle, because that tends to be a problem for me. I end up making mistakes, maybe being a little bit too defensive and worrying a lot about the opponent, especially in this game where, I'm not going to lie to you guys, I was shocked to see how easy it is to crash in this game. Like, in 19, I'm sure if you've seen one of those videos before, I was not shy about bumping into people and being dirty, but in this game, they really, really do punish you for being like that. So you have to be a lot more careful, you have to be a lot cleaner, not just, you know, in terms of bumping into people, but also into how you actually ride. So I look forward to seeing just how much I can get out of the system without crashing. You know, see how hard I can push it without actually having just constant crashes. So I will say that, like, you guys probably will down the line see more crashes. And I will also say, guys, as we wrap up this lap, the AI is a lot more intelligent. Like, I thought they were lying, because people have lied so many times about better AI, but this game's AI is so much better. There are actual crashes among people that aren't, you know, like, aren't caused by the human that's playing it. There's so much more to it, so much more depth, so much more battles actually happening with AI, or at least based on what I've seen so far. So I am very, very impressed with that, and I do want to commend them for that. Now, going into the very, very last turn, we have a small gap. It's not big enough, I would say, to be comfortable. Bubba has to get the turn right. He doesn't do it terribly. He runs it a little bit wide, and he's probably not going to get a good drive out of it, because he had to kind of push through a little bit. And you can see in the HUD in the bottom left corner, Mazia is visibly gaining. He looks very, very close. Bubba has to just hope and pray that he's a bit farther, but oh, he's right there on his ass. You can see from that angle that he's on his ass. And Bubba finishes second by 0.283. Very disappointing, as happens very, very often. Bubba gets screwed over by a penalty, and it costs him 5 points. Now, 5 points might end up not being too major, but on a track like Qatar, where, you know, I have so much experience, just years and years and years of experience, I was looking at this track and thinking, this is one that I need to win. And unfortunately, didn't happen due to one little mistake that I honestly don't think even gained us a lot of time. So for them to give us that kind of a penalty was actually very disappointing. But regardless, second place, not a bad way to start the season. Still, of course, a long, long way to go. And you never know. I don't know if this game works where you can actually like upgrade to a better bike or something like that. Because that's actually something I would like to see. Because of course, in MotoGP 19, we already did a season on the shit bike. And I would definitely love to see Bubba have an opportunity to race on a team that's actually going to be competing for titles and maybe getting a bit higher up. And I do like this where they show more of you know, what you actually get for playing the game. And taking into consideration the VIP multiplier bonus, I didn't pay for that. It was just included in the pre-order, so that's not something I paid extra money in for to kind of cheese my way to having better bikes and stuff like, or having better stats and a better bike overall. So yeah, overall first experience, I really like the game. I really like it so far. And let's go ahead and take a look at what teams are available. We do have a few proposals. So Sich, their team is actually kind of making an offer, it looks like. Leopard Racing as well, and there's also Sterogarda Max Racing Team, and they show sorry guys, I yawned for a second. Yes, they show like how much of a chance, I guess I'm assuming that's what that means, your proposal chance, how much of a chance you actually have. So I'm just gonna go and try to get a deal with a better team, because I feel like with the bike we have, yeah, we can compete, but if we can have a better basis, then I feel like we can probably do something. Now, we still have apparently a lot to work on in terms of our reputation and stuff like that. But it says like negotiations to go about 10 weeks, so I definitely assume we can get at least 1 or 2 races in before then. So hopefully we can get enough of a reputation to get a better bike. Let's go ahead and take a look at the tree. That's what I wanted to look at, the improvement tree, essentially, the tech tree, whatever you want to call it. The skill tree, and depending on what kind of genre it is. So yeah, it's just a classic tree. You unlock stuff and you put staff to it, you assign staff to it, and depending on how much money you have and stuff like that, you can afford to put in more staff and upgrade it faster and things like that. So that's a really cool addition to it, because it actually makes it feel like you're not just running yourself, but you're also running a team. So that's it for this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you can support a small channel like mine and any other really small channel that you watch. It's always a good thing to do and always very helpful. And let me know in the comments how excited you are for this game and what you think that Bubba can achieve. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.